Hello guys and welcome back to Coniferia. In the previous episode we built this high detail marina, and in this episode we are switching up the theme a bit by initiating a pretty big overall expansion here in Port Douglas, as we will finally be expanding the city southwards and creating a new neighborhood that will border downtown Port Douglas but also initiate the transition into medium and lower density areas. Let me just show you the location as we zoom out here. I excuse the lag. We have the entire region of Coniferia. We zoom into Port Douglas and we zoom in here in this southward portion just south of downtown. So this is the area that we will primarily be working with in this episode. Now, whether you're new or regular here on the channel, you are of course very welcome on board, as we are building Coniferia, our fictional and highly detailed Cities Skylines region, taking inspiration from New Zealand, Australia, Canada and the US. And as always, if you enjoy my content, I would greatly appreciate liking, commenting, subscribing, enabling notifications and all that good stuff, as it really does increase the reach of this channel. And it's gonna enable me maybe one day to live off creating Cities Skylines content and eating nice cup noodles. Now, before we jump into the big new expansion, I do want to implement a few of the many really great suggestions you guys provided in the comment section of the previous episode. There are 3 specific suggestions to the marina that I'm thinking about. The first one is simply adding more boats to the marina, as I agree it should probably be a little more packed. I guess as a note to that first one, some of you commented that it wouldn't be realistic to have sails on some of these boats, but I do imagine that they are either ready for departure in a little while, or they've just arrived, because at least at my local marina here in the city I live in, you will usually see just a handful of boats with their sails all set, at least on a sunny day like this. The second suggestion that I think is really great is we need to revamp these breakwaters a bit to also cover this boat ramp infrastructure here. That really makes sense because, I mean, doing really rough seas, I guess this area could really be quite dangerous, and yeah, I wouldn't be really comfortable trying to get my boat into seas or onto my trailer if the seas are really rough. So we'll need to just revamp these breakwaters to also include the boat ramp. And a third suggestion, which is also a great one, which I had actually planned for the previous episode but simply just forgot, is to add a functional marina so that we can actually have boats leave and enter this marina and yeah, make it functional instead of just a high detail addition. So with that plan laid out, the first step was to simply add more boats. So I'm just gonna go ahead quickly and copy paste more boats here. And there's gonna be a bit of repetition, but it is kind of limited just how many boats, at least in this size, we actually have available on the Steam Workshop. So there is gonna be a bit of copy pasting. And I think that concludes the first step, the first implementation. Not the most exciting job to copy paste more boats, but I think I agree with you guys that that was a needed step, and it looks a lot better now. Also just took the chance to add a few props to what appears to be some sort of a small bar or a place where you can, you know, grab some fish and chips or something. I wanted to add some barrels of beer here, but I'm not sure they need all this much. Anyways, it stays. The next step was to revamp these breakwaters so that they also cover this this boat ramp. In the previous episode, we of course also built the boat ramp, this small fish restaurant, as well as this sort of utilitarian area back here. So let's do that. I think ideally I should be able to, if I just select everything here, I should be able to pretty much just copy paste one of my selections here. Let's just see. Because they are a little tricky. So we've got a terraforming network running here below sea level, sorry, and we got the same running over here, and then we've got the a terraforming network here as well, because the breakwater here is it's basically just a PO item, so I'll need to just place that first, and then I can copy paste all this stuff and add over here as well. So let's just grab this one, and we'll just move this one out of the way because we won't have this segment sorry, anymore. We're gonna move it over here so that this is actually where the seawall starts, and then we'll just sort of adjust it. So if we grab this one as well, we can just align that. I think it's gonna be fine if we just change the angle a bit. Just make sure we've got proper alignment here. Something like this, that's fine. And then we've got the final segment here. Let's just take a look how this looks. I'm quite happy with that. It allows a bit more room to enter actually. So I think I'm gonna stick with this. Then we'll just need to align this, and this could get kind of funky because yeah, it's always a little tricky to work with the water physics in this game, right? So if we just move these waves out of the way, I wish it was that easy in real life, but if we move those waves out of the way, we should be able to copy paste this entire segment and move it over here. Alright, I think that concludes step 2, just revamping our breakwaters here. I quite like this new design. I also just took the liberty of adding an extra pier here with some packages that are ready to be loaded or unloaded or whatever, and just these two massive yachts here. Yeah, some people in Coniferia really has it quite good, that's quite obvious. Added a really small pier here as well with some boats, but we now have a proper protection, so to speak, for the boat ramp, and we can continue with step 3, which is adding a functional marina to this place. So obviously I'm not gonna use one of the ordinary marinas, one of these, because that comes with its own structure, its own piers and lots of boats. But what I do have are these empty boat spawners. So they actually act as marinas and can spawn boats that will travel along the route you designate, but they don't actually you know, they don't have any physical properties, so you can just place it and then align it as you want. And I think going with the small one here is probably the easiest for me, 2x2. But I'll have to kind of just, I'll have to just try, right? So if we just place it first, then we try to just filter buildings only. And maybe we can do some sort of alignment like this. Cool. And then we'll need to add a path to this, obviously, so that boats can actually use it. So in here, in the fishing industry tabs, in the industries DLC, we can add a fishing route. So let's just see if we don't have any snapping on. I don't think so, which is perfect. That's exactly what we don't want to have. And then I think for now we'll just try and add like a basic route. Unfortunately, I can only pick one with the mod setup I have currently, so I'm gonna have to work on fixing that, because obviously it'd be a little more cooler if we had some different types of boats spawning here. Let's check if it works. Gonna hit play. Seeing if we can get this sailboat out on its route. And it looks like it works. So just one type of boat for now, which is a little unfortunate, but it's better than nothing. That concludes our upgrades and revamps to the marina, and we can zoom out to put our attention to this area down here, which I've dubbed Southshore. If that name gives you World of Warcraft vibes, then I guess that's something you and I have in common. Because that's where I grabbed it from. I'm gonna need to do just a bit of planning, lay down some ground rules before we start building this area. One thing I would like to do is there's like a few key mantras I want to work with here. First up, and I know I say this way too often, but I want to try and keep the amount of details to a minimum. At least compared to the rest of the city, because I really need to just start expanding Port Douglas. Some of the stuff that we're building just ends up being maybe slightly too detailed, and that's very demanding for me to create. And I know the end result probably looks better due to the amount of detail, but it also just takes longer. And if we zoom out, you know, all this empty space leaves a lot to be desired, and yeah, Port Douglas definitely needs to grow, and building up an inner city area such as Southshore is really going to help with that, because as we move beyond Southshore and beyond Hillside and beyond Outer Brickwell and Portside, we are going to see that transition into lower density and maybe some medium density stuff, but generally a quick transition to some lower density, so that we can also actually have some suburbs here in Port Douglas, because the whole city, the whole island is not gonna be as built up as the urban core is. I think that would be a little boring. We want more variety in our neighborhoods, and the South Shore here is it's a good way to start. So I don't really have much planned for like parks and public squares yet. I know that as we progress, and I should mention that it's gonna take several episodes in the coming months to really build out this area, because it's quite big, right? But I know that here alongside the waterfront, we're gonna have some hotels and some luxury condos and some high-end shops, just as we've got in downtown Port Douglas. So that theme is sort of gonna continue down here. But for the actual meat of South Shore, what I want to do is take a bit of inspiration from the zoning rule sets of, for instance, Japanese cities, so that alongside this wide avenue, due to the width of this road, developers are allowed to build a little taller here, and the demand is generally a little higher. And then what I would like within these smaller blocks is to have plenty of row houses. That is a theme that we have used throughout Port Douglas, and that we are going to continue to use, and I hope I can build some really cozy small row house neighborhoods. I think though for the first part of this build, I would find the most prominent buildings and start filling out this main avenue that cuts through Southshore. Eventually, we're gonna need to expand the tram network so that it doesn't end here. But for now, this seems fine because I really doubt that we'll get this whole area done. But yeah, first step is to pick out some of the bigger buildings at least that are gonna flank this avenue cutting through the area. Alright guys, it's time for a little recap of what we've built up of Southshore so far. I think we've had some pretty good progress, and I'm gonna go into some of my thoughts and reasoning for the way this turned out. As we planned for initially, we set out to have some of the bigger buildings kind of hug this main avenue here, and I think we've overall achieved that. The density is just it's just a little more cramped, and the overall height of buildings is just a little lower as we kind of move into these back roads and side roads here. There are parts of this area that are really built up, such as this short stretch here on this block, and the same goes for over here. But I think that generally we've really achieved the look of, you know, more density alongside the avenue. That is of course also exemplified by this construction here, which is quite major. I'm happy with the implementation of these fantastic looking buildings from this Brooklyn and Queens content creator pack. I really enjoy the look of these, and I don't have these anywhere else in the city, so I guess that actually kind of gives Southshore a bit of a unique vibe as well. And I think we've just achieved that overall. I think this area doesn't really look like any particular area we've built in the region of Coniferia so far, and I think that generally we just have quite a few unique areas. We have this area as well, which kind of reminds a bit about it, but it's also a little more structured with many more row houses in the same style, so it is a little different as well. So yeah, really happy with that. I did have to change the population figures of these narrow buildings from the content creator pack, because I think they're registered as like low density residential, which means that the realistic population mod adds a single household to each of these, and I think it's obvious that we're speaking like anywhere from 9 to 12 apartments in a block like that, like this. So I've updated that for at least all the ones that I've used here, and that really helped with the population figures. And if we do take a look, we are pushing towards 40,000 population here in Coniferia with the realistic population mod, which is awesome. And yeah, Southshore is adding to that goal, of course, as we've just passed 2,200 population, which is 722 households, and there's almost 300 jobs in this area. And it's a really young neighborhood as of right now, which makes sense because it's relatively new in this region, right? Also for the demographics, I imagine Southshore is it's a pretty expensive neighborhood because it's really close to the beach. We're gonna create an additional beach over here. It's close to what I think might be sort of like a nature park or a nature trail here, which I'm thinking of doing, maybe starting this episode even. We'll see. And it's of course pretty close to downtown. It's very close to really efficient, high capacity public transport. So you can very easily get into downtown using the tram lines. We're gonna get buses out here eventually as well. And you have pretty easy access to the mountains if you want to do some hiking. So yeah, it's a pretty nice area, but it isn't perfect, and it's undergoing gentrification. And if we take a look, I tried to kind of represent that by having, you know, a bit of, you know, some really old cracked surfaces here. We've got a bit of trash lying around. We've got some surface parking, which, you know, there isn't a lot of when we get closer to downtown Port Douglas. But that's also just to represent that this is, you know, Southshore is meant to be like a transitionary area, so that when we move further away from downtown, we are finally gonna go and, you know, we're gonna get to that single family density that we desperately need in Port Douglas as well. I also tried to use some buildings such as this one, where you have, you know, an old storefront that is now closed. In this one you have the same, and the windows are even, you know, boarded up. So it kind of tells the tale of a neighborhood that is undergoing a transition. You know, it used to be much more working class than it is today, but it still has some of those, you know, aspects, and it still has, you know, a bit of crime. Yeah, some of the stuff you'd find in a neighborhood that is really undergoing a transitioning phase. I guess you guys noticed the park as well. Very spontaneous decision to grab this residential development from this corner here and move it over here and just kind of break up the urban landscape a bit with a park. This is something that I've grown really fond of doing here in Coniferia. Didn't have a plan for the park at all. I was like, I'm gonna place down some paths and then I'm gonna try and just be creative and build the park, you know, around those paths. And I think it turned out all right. I'm pretty happy with the result, at least since I didn't plan for anything. Really like it. And yeah, just a bit of talk on parks and public squares. I hope you guys like listening to my voice. Otherwise, this is just a, you know, terrible segment of the video. But yeah, oh well. I like to use public squares and parks to kind of break up the urban landscape, but also help, you know, signify changes in districts. So this central park here in downtown, it doesn't really, you know, break up the district into two parts. It's just more to have, you know, add a bit of uniqueness to the area. But if we go to Brickville, for instance, then we do use, you know, Brickville Park here with the church to kind of separate what is known as outer Brickville from inner Brickville. And I wanted to do the same over here with the park we created here because, you know, this part is downtown and this part is Southshore. So the park just, it does kind of help to, you know, split up the areas and mark a transitional, you know, a change to, you know, new density levels, new types of housing, just an overall new type of district. And I think I'm gonna continue implementing that. So for instance, as we grow Southshore out here, we might have another park that kind of splits the medium density urban setting we have going now until some lower density stuff. But I've been rambling for quite a bit now in this episode. So what I want to do now to kind of wrap up is change the road layout ever so slightly and kind of change the type of nature we have here alongside the coastline here to give off more of that, you know, hairy, forested, rocky nature trail vibe instead of a beach. And I'm going to change the road layout ever so slightly because we're going to need... I think we're gonna need a little more development room, basically. So if we just start by deleting this, I don't mind this type of road for now. If anything, as a placeholder. So we're just gonna continue with that. That's completely fine. But we're just gonna move it closer here to the coast, and then we're just gonna come up here like so. And this is not finalized at all. It's just a bit of an update. And this connection here, do we want that? I don't think we do. I'll connect here instead, I think. Something like that. Just remove these trees. I think that's fine for now, because then we can develop this block, and of course the blocks down here, we can have some hotels here, as was the plan. Some nice condos maybe. And then over here, I'd like to come in with our ground resources and just change the overall look and feel of this area so that it's more lush and it has less of a beach vibe, basically. Because I kind of want the beach theme to sort of end around here and then turn into, yeah, more of a nature trail thing. So if we just add forest here, then that's a start at least for this area. Something like this. I'm just gonna fly over here and I'm gonna grab this grass prop, because we'll be using that extensively over here. And we're gonna use rocks as well. It's just a placeholder for now, but I want to, yeah, create a more lush, overgrown vibe down here. Do we have some rocks? We do. We can probably just steal these, actually, if we're a bit naughty about it. I like that. Then we can grab these type of bushes. There are some type of bushes that will grow just fine here. So this one, for instance, is a good one. Whoop. we're flying back. Then we can like add these, yeah, placeholder for now, and then we'll see what to do with it. But I'm hoping to create like a beautiful area with some really wild nature, some rocky cliffs over here, maybe something of that sort. And let's just have a look and see how this area looks. Yeah, I really like that, because we are going to create a beach here, and it's gonna be relatively easy because we already built this functional high detail beach here. So I should be able to pretty easily just copy paste the props over here, and voila, we'll have a new beach. So actually, as I think of it, why don't we just do that? If it's that easy, we should attempt to do it. So we'll see. I will copy the nodes as well. Should I copy the nodes and segments as well? Actually, I think I am. I'm gonna try. This is really gonna be a brutal copy paste job. And then we'll just say to terrain height, all of it. Cool. We'll go and we'll copy another segment, and we need a lot. So we'll copy all of this, I think. And then we'll try to align it as well as we can over here. Let's see. This is a bit of an experiment in, wouldn't say laziness, but yeah. Let's just see. All right, so the props are looking okay, but the water actually, we need to just bring this back just a bit. The whole shebang, just bring it back just a bit. Something like this is probably, yeah, that's a little more fitting with where the water is here. And we'll just do a little manual foam. Grab this one. Cool, that looks pretty good. We've got waves as well. We'll copy some of that as well. Adding these. I love that we've got these boats now actually sailing around, having a good look. It's quite the view, this one, right? All right, back to the beach. I think that looks good. Let's copy another segment here. And see how that is gonna work. Something like this. Then obviously we've got some networks here that are probably better off being removed. Nice. And we'll make sure to align to terrain height. And let's just see if we can grab one of these networks here so we can start painting. And let's see. We need snapping on, that's for sure. I've grabbed this key here that I've used, so I'm looking for a version that doesn't have these stairs so that I can create my own entirely. So I'm just gonna pause because this is gonna be quite intrusive. There you go, that removed some of the stairs. It removed this, no, there's still a bit of a fence here, so that's actually not what I want. Do I want this one? I want this one because that removed the fencing here. And that's gonna allow me to create like a custom stairs basically. That is going to be maybe even the full width here. That could be kind of cool. And I think I've got a stair network that might actually do the trick. I do. I have a few actually. So let's just see what way are these. Okay. And this one. Okay, so we're gonna use this one, and maybe we might even be able to add it like as a parallel network. Let's just try. Okay, it's worth a shot, I guess. Yeah, not bad. We'll just move it closer, and we'll see if this is even gonna work. We'll place that down, and then we will. Oh, whoa! Okay. We need to adjust some heights here. That's for sure. But with that said, I think, please go away. Thank you. I think we're on the right track here, maybe for my idea. Let's see. We will lower this, and apparently I didn't pick the node out here, but now I have. That was wrong. Let's just lower this manually, because we'll have to adjust this one anyways, so that it begins here. Bring the stairs up ever so slightly. Just they need a little more alignment. There you go. Doesn't that look nice? I am very, very happy with how that looks, to be honest. I wonder if I can... I'm not even sure I can get to select the nodes on these stairs. No, so they're fine for now, I think. Except here they obviously aren't, so I'm gonna have to fix that as well. Sorry. Think that is good enough for now. Gonna move this these shrubs away, but I am going to add some additional of these small bushes, because I just, you know, I want this to be just a tiny bit overgrown as well. That's great, and now we should easily be able to just connect these up. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna create a segment here, and then I'm just gonna drag it over here so that citizens can easily use them. I'm not gonna directly connect them, because I think that might mess up the node on the walk we have up here. So I'm hopeful that this is actually gonna be fine, and it's gonna allow people to easily access the beach. We'll see. Of course I'll test it in this episode, just to be sure. Now we're going to upgrade these to invisible pedestrian paths. We are adding a ton of these spawners, or rather points that should draw in people, so that we can get some activity on the beach. And then we are going to just we're gonna sit it out and wait, and hopefully we'll be seeing tons of activity. Just need to, I can see we need to adjust the width of this ever so slightly. There you go, and just raise that by 1, and now it's the waiting game. And there we go. People are actively using the beach, and we've got people in their formal business wear taking a swim. We've got a real businesswoman here with her briefcase, with her laptop, taking a swim. That's I don't think that's advisable, but yeah, whatever. Anyways, it turned out great. We've got increased activity in this part of town. Many people use the boardwalks. They take the stairs down to the beach. Really happy with how that turned out. And with that little spontaneous addition, as well as this more nature-ish area out here that we are going to create some cool park of in coming episodes, that really wraps up this episode, which turned out to be another mega episode. Yay me. Really need to work on that, but I guess that's more content for you guys when I do upload an episode. So yeah, to wrap this up, thank you so much for watching. Hope you'll be liking, commenting, subscribing if that's what you want. It really does help the channel. Much more stuff, including early access to videos when I can over on my Patreon if you want to support me there. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll shoot some juicy cinematics for you guys now, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.